just make something out of nothing. I know people could like exaggerate something, but I never knew like something so serious could just be made up, right? Not something that big. Especially because, too, my father's wife had previously lost a child. So I know how serious something like that would be, right? I came up with all types of possibilities to try to make sense of this, y'all. I remember there was a time I thought maybe my dad just didn't love me and he needed a reason for me not to be around him. I even thought maybe his wife didn't like me. So maybe she, didn't want me, to, maybe I was taken away of something. I thought even maybe my sister didn't like me and she didn't want me to be there. But that never really made sense to me, just because she would call me, like we would have the best conversations, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I never detected at this point any type of jealousy or tension. So then I tried I'm trying to make sense of this, y'all. Then I thought maybe it was like a prank, and then it like went too far. You know how sometimes kids can say something, but then they're scared like of the reaction. They're scared to like recant, just because they know the lie went too far. I don't know. But I couldn't land on anything. And this confusion followed me into adulthood, right? Because as I got older, I started realizing something. If I was a parent and something that serious was said between my children, I would have gotten to the bottom of it. I would have never let that go. Why wasn't it addressed when I was there? Why weren't all the kids brought together in front of the adults? Why wasn't there a real conversation? That wasn't a small lie. That was huge. And more than anything, that was my life. Because from that moment on, I will never had another chance to be with my dad again. I got one weekend, y'all. I got one glimpse, and then it was gone forever. Time later, I did speak to my sister. And I'm grateful for my grandma because of this, right? I was mad at her. Like, she was trying to tell me, like, your sister kids will do certain things. And I was arguing with, I don't think she could do that. I just couldn't fathom it. Well, this particular time, she took her phone and she recorded the conversation of us. She emailed it to herself, right? Before I made this video, I had to listen again, just in like literal tears was rolling down my eyes. Because I ain't gonna lie, when it comes to like parental figures, like grandmas, they have your back, man. But anyway, years later, we had that conversation, and when my grandma took her phone, and she was crying, and she was just telling me she was sorry. I cannot explain how I felt, right? But what's weird about me, I'm not confrontational. So even on the phone call, I was just like, oh, it's okay. But she did say that she didn't think it would have gone that far. I want to give it grace. Remember, she was a child. She was a child, and she was younger than me, and I was young. Okay? But here's the thing that I had a problem with. When it was admitted after everything, I thought, okay, now they'll fix it. Everyone would be told the truth, right? Now my name will be cleared. But it never happened. The truth was never corrected publicly. And I had to live with that. And as I got older, that's when I lost respect for my dad, because I had to make a realization. Those were all of your children, all of us. And maybe he didn't understand the magnitude of what that did to me, but it destroyed something in me. And I remember too, I even heard narratives about myself. I was jealous that I wanted my mom and my dad to be together, that I didn't like his other kids, and that just a whole bunch of stuff. But let me make this very clear, right? There was that not only is that not true, I'm going to just say it like this. Look, I grew up never seeing my parents in a relationship. That would be abnormal for me to experience because I never seen it before. I can actually count on one hand how many times I've ever seen them speak to one another. My parents never, it's not like some relationships where, parents, they never messed around ever again in life. I never even seen them speak to one another on a phone. I could say maybe 3 or 4 times in life, I think my dad and mom ever spoke to one another. They had no type of relationship in any way. So for me to feel something like that it wouldn't even make sense. I didn't want that. I did not want them together. I wanted out. I wanted to get away from my mom. No one ever thought about that. I wanted to be a part of his family. I actually, at that time, I wanted his wife to be my mom. I wanted to live with them. That was all I wanted. Nothing more than that. And there was times I still think about like what life would have been like if that lie was never told, if that moment was never happened, if I would have been allowed to have a father growing up. And to this day, it was never fully addressed. I even heard not too long ago, like some months ago, somebody, my baby sister, I guess she was talking to somebody about me, and she was saying, yeah, she tried to kill me, right? But I can't blame her that she was told that. Imagine if you were being told that growing up as a child. Like what else would you not, believe? And here's the crazy part of that. The person she was sharing that with, she was trying to say that she thinks I'm crazy and something about me killing my dad or some crazy stuff. And that person, like, they wanted to tell her, like, hey, anyway, she's being talked about like that for the past couple of years now. Like she's, my father is telling people she needs mental help and sharing that with me. I know have to be my other sister. I believe there was even conversation said like he was trying to bring her to a mental institution and she took off running. But that part that hurts me is that we are all siblings. Like if there was some type of, if my father in any way wanted anything, he should have wanted us to have a bond in a relationship. Imagine that one lie. You never know. That baby could need me one day in life when you're not here or when her parents are not here. I may need that baby one day in life. That's why God created families. That's why you have siblings. That's why, so when you create division, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't do anything but hurt the children. Anyway, going back to that, but I will say this, years later, after I had my children, my dad's wife, I won't forget this because my little sister had a baby and we were both at the hospital and she held my hand and it really did feel genuine. Like, I won't lie about that. She told me, she was like, girl, I know that didn't happen. And she held my hand, she looked me in my eyes and it felt good, right? But I just felt like that was something my father should have done. That was something my father should have done. That killed me. That ruined my whole childhood. Anyway, that moment didn't just take my father away from me. It changed how I saw myself. It made me question my worth, my innocence, my place in this world. It taught me what it feels like to finally touch something that you wanted your whole entire life and have it ripped away from you without explanation. And even now, as an adult, I'm still healing from a lie that I did not create. And that's the part people don't always understand. Sometimes the deepest wounds in your life come from things that you never even did. And the hardest part of healing is learning how to live with questions that never gets answers. It's day 13, and I'm so happy that you guys are following. Please make sure you like, follow, share. Let's do this healing journey together, y'all.